Winning in multiple offers, tough market. There are just agents simply that are doing more business because they're getting there. They're more creative. They are just doing better than other people. So what can we learn from that? What can we learn? What are people doing? What are the creative strategies? So I'm going to break this down into a couple different categories. What you can do and how you can stand out, your reputation, all the things, because here's the thing, there's people that are doing more volume than others, and there's learning lessons in that. So what can we do? So that's number one. 2 strategies involved, different strategies, random strategies involved. And the last thing I'm saving is the purchase agreement. I'm going to go through this purchase agreement and we're going to talk about strategies. Okay. Super important for everyone. If you are working with the buyer, don't be going out with the buyer and showing them homes before you've sat down with them at a coffee shop, your office, whatever it is, and had a conversation with this market. About this market, because it's crazy. They need to know. You don't want to shock the SHIT out of them when you're like, hey, $20,000-$30,000 over did not even get you in the top 10. Okay. So having these real conversations with people, with buyers up front, again, I'm your real estate advisor. I will give you ideas. Whatever you decide to do is up to you, but I want to help you win. I'm going to give you strategies. Okay. What we are seeing on our team a lot of times is it might take a few offers for them to understand how to write really strong. They might think at first that it is absolutely insane to waive an inspection. I personally would like an inspection as well. Due to liability, I'm not going to tell anyone to waive an inspection, right? But I will tell you that 55% of winning offers right now have waived inspections. Okay. Are you talking to them about being strategic about that? Doing walk and talk inspections? There's different things that you can do. Okay. So, being creative, what are agents doing better? Some agents doing better than others. And here's the thing, guys, you got one shot at your purchase agreement to win. Most of you are not getting callbacks from the agents, right? Sorry, but I hope you guys aren't doing this. It makes me laugh sometimes when I get an email that says, hey, listen, here's my offer. And if there's anything else that we can do, we'd really appreciate a call back before you accept anything. No. We called for highest and best. You need to give your highest and best offers. However, the agents that are doing good and are savvier than others are getting that call back. So how do you get that call back? But for most of us guys, you get one shot. You got to educate your buyers and you get one shot of writing that purchase agreement in multiple offers. There's a lot of listing agents. Guess what? They're looking at 10 to 20 offers. Okay. So you got to do things that stand out. You got to do good things that stand out and not stupid things. Sorry, but there's some stupid things going on too. And you got to learn from that stuff, learn what to do, learn what not to do. Okay. Offers, we're talking about them all the time. Does the highest offer always win? Nope. Does somebody fall in love with a buyer love letter? Does somebody want to work with a VA buyer? Does somebody, there's terms, guys. There's some agents that are getting there and they're winning an offer that's maybe 10 grand lower. Now, money does talk and it does matter the majority of the time, but we are seeing offers that are not the highest win. The goal, I will say in a lot of this, you will be a better agent. The better agents are getting the call back. The better you do, the more things, we'll talk about the things, you will get that call. That's the goal, to get that call. If you don't win right away, to get that call saying, hey, Kelly, if you do 1 and 2, if you increase your purchase price to match the highest price by 5 grand, and if you make your earnest money non-refundable, you will win. Fantastic. Now you're only as good as your buyers, but at least I get to go to my buyers and say, hey, listen, here's the deal. You will win if you do X and Y. They have to decide and it's up to them. But the more of those conversations that you get in, the more you're going to win. Some of you are getting in those. I hear that. And to me, that is awesome. That shows me, I will hear on my team sometimes, and you guys sometimes won't win, but you at least got that call. And to me, that is rock star. That separates average agents to the rock star agents, is getting that call. Okay. Okay. So let's dive in. Let's talk about communication first. So there's, I'm all about being real. Okay. Some of you agents really like to communicate. You like to send texts 18 times and a voicemail and a voice text and an email and something through Instagram. Okay. Careful how you're communicating with the listing agent. I just had one of you show me the other day, you're on here, I'm looking at you right now, had a listing in like 5 minutes, the agent called 3 times. And then after that sent a text saying, you need to call me. There's kind of some weird things like that. I hope the average person on here doesn't do stuff like that, but you don't want to stand out as a pain in the ass agent. Okay. So there's things that you can do with your communication that really stand out. Okay. I know for me, I am going to try to get a hold of that agent. A lot of the listing agents you will not get a hold of. Okay. But some of them you will. And what are the questions that you're asking them? Are you asking them what everyone asks them? How many offers do you have? You can ask that. A lot of you say to me, my clients want to know, so you have to ask mine. But I'm talking about things that make you stand out, that you're not the average agent asking the same average questions. Okay. So what does that look like? I'm going to get a hold of that agent. I'm going to say, hey, listen, make sure everyone's muted, please. I'm going to get a hold of that agent and I'm going to promote my buyer and say, hey, listen, they absolutely love this house. I will make sure I keep this deal together. They are writing $75,000 over, no inspection, full appraisal gap, all the things. We would really like to win this. Is there anything else that two things, you as an agent are looking for, or that your seller is looking for? That's it. That's what I'm going to ask. What is your seller looking for? Is there anything else I can do to sweeten this deal? And what are you looking for as a realtor? No one asks that, guys. No one asks that. And there's some things that I like: written statement, CIC association clause. Okay. Because it makes my deal, more solid. Okay. So are you asking that? So I don't know. What are they going to say? Maybe they want a free rent back. They want 2 days to move out. They want a dumpster clause. What do they want? And sometimes these things might not be a big deal. They want to leave the pool table there. They don't want to get rid of the pool table. Whatever it is, but ask those questions. Sometimes they're very little things, but they can be big deals for people. Okay. So your communication and the questions that you ask, are you looking at the agent remarks? In my agent remarks, there's a lot of information there. It's their ideal closing date. I'm not accepting escalation clauses. I prefer trust funds, whatever that is. I'm saying a lot of information in that agent remarks. Are you guys reading those agent remarks before you're asking questions? Or are you the average agent when you call and you're saying, what is their ideal closing date? Because now you just wasted my time because I already have that on there. I'm looking for awesome conversations of how do you win? Do you want to win? Like those, okay? So I would just really encourage you to have all that information before you call a listing agent, okay? Your reputation and your track record matter. People Google you, people go on, all the things. We can look and see how many transactions someone has done, right? You got to build up. It's really important, I think, in this business to build up that you're an agent that keeps your transactions together. You're working with great people, your title company, your lender, all the people that you're working with, your TC. Keep that deal together and make that seamless, because you win one or your team win ones or something. And they're like, you know what? Because this is what happens. We have 10 offers here. Here are the top 3. I've worked with Taya Velick before. I've worked with Shelby before. I've worked with Kelly before. They do a lot of business in this market. They keep their transactions together. These are the conversations that a lot of times as listing agents, I've worked with so-and-so. Yeah, their offer is $5,000 lower, but they do a lot of business. I'm just letting you know, I can't guarantee anything, but they do a lot of business and hold their transactions together. So your reputation, guys, and who you work with really matters over time. Do listing agents want to work with somebody? Obviously, they want to work with somebody who keeps deals together, right? Who has a reputation of not being a pain in the butt, having their ducks in a row, right? And so it's really important over time that you build that up. Offer presentation. Let's talk about this really quick because this is also with your communication. How are you sending your offers over? Some agents are sending offers over directly from Authentisign. They're still doing it. Don't do that ever, right? Unless for some reason you are like, oh my gosh, they just got in from out of town. We're going at 4 o'clock. Offers are due at 5. I am so sorry. This is coming directly from Authentisign. It's coming in hot, but it's coming in 75 over, full appraisal gap, no inspection. I'm so sorry. It's last minute. Make sure, you know, but don't do that. Like, people are still doing that, guys. What does your offer summary look like when you send that email? Okay. I like to put in the subject, offer, whatever that address is, colon, $75,000 over list. I'll give a summary quickly. I want it to stand out. 75 all over list, all caps, no inspection, all caps, full appraisal gap. Maybe it won't even have that. I want that to stand out. Okay. So that's what I'm putting in the subject. Then my email is not 18 paragraphs. Do not have 18 paragraphs. If somebody is in multiple offers, they do not have time to read your 18 paragraphs, but bullet it. We all know what that offer summary looks like, right? What are your bullet points? List price. This is what mine looks like. List price, seller paid closing costs, net price. So what's the net price? Closing date, matching their date, closing date, inspection, no inspection, all caps, appraisal clause, full appraisal clause upon a low appraisal, buyer will pay cash up to purchase price. All that is just bulleted easy peasy. And then you have some sort of, you know, a lot of times I'm copy and pasting it. Get your summary together of what you're going to say. We have one on the team. I really like sometimes what some of the girls are saying is, you know, we'd love to work with you. I'm a dedicated full-time agent who will make sure this transaction stays together should you choose to work with us. Kind. Okay. So I would have that email very buttoned up. Okay. So figure out what you're going to say, keep it short and simple, and do bullet points is my recommendation. Then at the bottom, how many documents should you have? Should you have 10? No. 5? No. 3? No. Maybe 2, but I'm recommending 1. You have 1 PDF tidied up, all perfect in a bow, so they don't have to open up 18 different things. Okay. Some of you newer agents are sending 18 different documents in 18 different emails. Don't do that. Okay. 1 document. And I'll talk about how this looks moving forward. But I do think it's really important, your communication to the listing agent, your email, all the things are important. Why have I not been, I'm going to answer this really quick. Why have I not been asking for escalation clauses? Well, Alex Marcellet was just on here, does a ton of transactions. She has 5% of winning offers are asking for escalation clauses. So I think that should tell you enough right there. If only 5% are offering escalation clauses, careful. So buyer, you want to write an escalation clause? Cool. But I'm letting you know only about 5%. Why? This is what's real. This is what I see that's real. I have an escalation clause over here going $2,000 or whatever over the highest purchase price. And then I have this other one. My sellers are saying, I've had this happen multiple times. That person wrote strong right away. I feel more comfortable with that offer. That's what's real. This is emotional. It's emotional for people. It's a very large, transaction for people. It's their personal money. This is a lot about feelings. I haven't been receiving them. We haven't been writing escalation clauses for quite a while. I don't recommend them. Can you win with them? Sure. Don't recommend. Okay. Got off on a tangent. Anyone go ahead and keep asking any questions. And by the way, ask your brokers, guys. I'm not a broker. I'm very strategic and creative about winning offers. And this is my advice. So make sure you're asking your brokers. Don't always do and say, oh, Kelly Brown said that you could do that. Okay. Nope. You guys got to ask. This is just my opinion. Keep putting questions and I'll do a Q&A at the end. Okay. So that's communication. My next thing too is strategy. Let's talk just about a couple things for strategy. Okay. We talked about this and I'm going to bring it up again because it is very, very, very important. You must educate your buyers in this market. We do 9 a.m. Realtor clubs every week. Why? Because literally this market has been changing weekly, right? So you need to educate your buyers. You need to say, everyone should be saying, hey, listen, I really want to help you in this market, and best to help you. Let's have coffee. You pick the location, whatever you want, but let's really talk about this market. Because otherwise what's happening, guys, is they find home on a Friday and best and finals are due by Sunday. And you're saying, hey, you got to write $50,000 over to win, no inspection. What would you like your appraisal clause to say? And you're freaking them the heck out. And then you freak them out and they're gone and they're not going to work with you. They're not going to buy a house. So you need to deliver this and just let them know. I know this sounds crazy, but this is the market. Guys, we're dealing with this all the time, but they're not. They don't, they're hearing about it, but, still people are, stunned at, still no inspections. Okay. All right. So educating your buyers, sitting down with them. Let's talk about time strategy. Should you be the first offer in, or should you wait until the 5 o'clock deadline at Sunday and submit it at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock? Different strategies on this. I don't know what the right one is, but I would figure out what yours is. And sometimes you can't control it, right? Sometimes you have someone coming in from out of town and you can't control it. But I just had an agent on my team. They were going to take best and finals on Sunday. She won. First offer in, very strong. And they did not do a sunset clause or anything like that. I think you got to be careful about that. Different opinions on that, right? Putting an expiration clause on your offer. But they won. They got in first, right? Like, it doesn't always work. It's not going to always work, but sometimes it does. Okay. Now the risk of being a first offer in is you are the one where then everyone has to match. So that agent could be like, okay, well, if you're going to match with seller permission, I can disclose if you want to match this first offer or anything like that. But I don't know what people are doing behind the scenes like that, but I would just say being strong, being first in, has value. You got to do all the other things I'm going to talk about in a sec. You can't write a crappy offer. Okay. Okay. But sometimes you can't help it. But I'm going to say this. There sure are a lot of people that wait till 4 o'clock to send all their offers in. Best and finals due Sunday at 5 o'clock. All y'all are sending them in at 4. Great. Sometimes you can't help that. But we are talking about standing out and being different and being a kick-ass agent and doing things that the average agent is not doing. So if you want to be the average agent, submit your offer when it's due or an hour or two before that. Otherwise, find other ways to stand out. Sometimes you have to do that anyway. You have to submit at that time, fine. But find a way to talk to the listing agent. So sorry, I'm, submitting last minute here. It's going to be real strong. But that's the best I can do. Okay. Buyer love letters. I do a whole training on this. It might be on YouTube, Kelly Brown Realtor. I have a different opinion on buyer love letters where if I'm a listing agent, I'm like, no, like You know, it's up to my seller. Would you like to look at the buyer love letters? I encourage you guys not to look at buyer love letters. I encourage you to look at terms, but that is up to you. Okay. However, on the buy side, coffee appointment, talking to people, get that buyer love letter ready. Like that is strategic. How many times on these calls have we heard about people winning because of that letter? I really like them. They're the buyer for my home. I want them to live in this home. Oh my gosh, I love them. Susie picked out her bedroom, this, that. Okay. They need to be genuine, but these letters are going pretty far. Okay. Not always. The listing agent says, don't submit buyer love letters. Don't submit a love letter. Okay. But in that tiny little bow that you're wrapping up in your one PDF that you're sending with your awesome summary, buyer love letter on top. Strategic. We had a training recently and it was about a video love letter. There's different ways that you can do different things, figure out, have those conversations with people. There was one just the other day, we had somebody on here. Now this was a higher priced home. I think it was right about $1 million. They accepted because of the video. They sent them a video. It was a family. She was like, the mom was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm not even ready. I don't look good. But they did it off the cuff. And I want to say, I can't remember. And I don't know if Larry's on here, but it was like 6 figures, guys, under. And granted, it was $1 million, 6 figures under, but they felt like that's the family that I want to live in my home. So these things, this is emotional business for people, strategic. Your lender, this is the last thing I'll say about strategy. Your lender is very strategic and you got to make sure to have these conversations, having coffee with people. Because here's how it usually goes. Yep, I'm working with this X big bank, pre-approved. I have a 967 credit score. I have the highest credit score out of anyone in the United States. Like, you know, people say that, right? Your lender behind the scenes is very strategic. They should be calling for you. I would be like, hey, listen, are you my lenders? Are you available on Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday? Can you call and make that and advocate for my client? This is a rock star client. There will be no issues. Assets, income, and employment have been verified. They are all the way through underwriting. There will be no issues with this. You need somebody who will advocate for you. But how it goes when you have coffee a lot of times is I'm working with X bank. I'm pre-approved with. So what is that conversation like that you're having? For me, I would be saying you can use absolutely whoever you want, but realtors doing a lot of volume and title companies doing a lot of volume behind the scenes, they have their list of people who are a pain in the butt to work with, don't show up on time for closings, don't follow the TRID 3-day guidelines. So all of a sudden things get pushed. We know who those people are. Your lender in this market, everything really matters. So you can go ahead and use Rocket Mortgage. But if you lose a couple, I would really consider, I'm going to give you 2 or 3. Here's, you know, some people that you can talk to. But if you lose a couple, I would really consider that. It's important. Because I don't know if these guys are going to be available to make that call before 5 o'clock deadline on Sunday. And that call, because I got to pull out all the stops on everything to win, that call from your lender is really important. So maybe they use them for the first time. But if I was somebody and I heard, hey, listen, you might lose a few, like people start thinking and then they call your lender. Okay. So make sure you're vetting lenders. But okay, so that's the last thing that I'm going to say about being strategic just in general. Okay. About things. So now, oh my gosh, is anyone still on here? Oh my God, there's a lot of you on here. I love it. Okay. So let's talk about that purchase agreement now. I do deeper dives on the purchase agreement for our expansion partners. I literally take the agency and the purchase agreement and the CIC doc and all the things, and I break those down. If anyone wants codes for that, that's on our expansion team, let me know. There are things, and I'm going to point out as I go through this, There are 6 things on here that cost your buyers no money, no extra money, but they can do them to be strategic. We are looking for, as listing agents, we are looking for clean, good deals that are going to stay together. Okay. So I'm going to talk through that. The order of this is really important. I would say with experienced agents, there is an order that they stick to. And with unexperienced agents, there's just, it's kind of like a chaos when you get it. The seller's disclosures are on top, or the commission agreement is on top. Commission agreement does not need to be on there. So just be careful. The order is also important. Okay. All the things, guys, are important to making you stand out as a realtor, to stand out as somebody great to work with, who is professional and will keep the deal together. And then I'm going to go over creative wording too. Okay. So let's just talk quickly about the order of this first. Buyer love letter is on top. On our team, we have an offer highlights sheet. Not a lot of people do this. I would encourage you to make one. I think it looks really professional immediately. These are my bullet points. These are the same bullet points that also go on the email. Purchase price, earnest money, closing date, whatever it is. There's our team. Okay. Next thing, meet the team. That's me. These are our title company. It's not my team of agents. It's me, my title company, and my transaction coordinator. All people that are going to help this transaction get to closing. This is what mine says. Our team is committed, responsive, and reliable. A smooth transaction is our highest priority. We hope to work with you and your team. So I think you stand out by doing a couple things different. It doesn't need to be 18 million pages, short and sweet, 2 pages. Okay. Then the lender letter. And hopefully it's not that one. And then the purchase agreement. The purchase agreement, the meat of it is next. Okay. So I'm going to go through this. The meat of it is next. Wire fraud. Any addendums are next. Okay. Now I have the CIC. It's a CIC period. That's also at the end. Should there be what you're getting paid? If this is online, MLS says online, I'm paying 2.7% out to the buyer's agent. It's online. You do not need to include this. Newer agents include that. Do not include that. Do not include your buyer rep agreement. Do not include that stuff, guys. Newer agents are doing that. Listing agents don't. These are already a lot of pages, right? Don't be that new person who's sending too much documentation that a listing agent does not need. Okay. Okay, so that we talked about the order, putting it in this cute little bow and making it pretty. And by the way, I blocked this out, but you know, there's different letters. Oh my gosh, there's a training out there somewhere that I have on buyer love letters. Get it all ready, you know, have a color photos, always photos all the time, right? And then genuine maybe about the family, but what they love about the home too, okay? So we talked about order. And let's just dive into this. If you have a purchase agreement, you want to pull one up, do it. Okay. First page of a purchase agreement, earnest money. What are we seeing in a typical market? I say this to people, in a typical market, this is not typical. We see 1%. So we are seeing high earnest money. Okay. We are also seeing very, very creative language that I am pulling up right now. Creative language for things like earnest money. So when you're sitting down and having coffee with people, this is one item I'm going to point out. You can make this as high as you want. You can make this $100,000. It costs you no more money, buyer, to give high earnest money. It's subtracted from the purchase price. It's not in addition, it's subtracted from the purchase price. So if you decide, you know, because everyone's like, oh, I'm so solid. I have the highest credit score that there is. All the things were so solid. Okay, great. Well, put your money where your mouth is. As long as this closes, there's no more money to you. There's no more money at all to you. So do you want to go, 2%, 5%, 10%? What earnest money do you want to put on here? Because it's a 6th line item, line number 6. So it really does stand out. Okay. It stands out. Now, We know due to financing, if financing falls through, the buyer gets the earnest money back. We know per the state of Minnesota, I say this a lot, per the state of Minnesota, they protect buyers in the earnest money, not sellers. So me as a listing agent, I'm trying to protect my seller. So creative language on this, let's talk about it. I mean, this is what you're having coffee about. Yeah, you can just offer high earnest money, but you could also make your earnest money non-refundable. I don't see it a lot, but I definitely see it. Okay. So non-refundable earnest money. What is some wording? Again, don't take my wording, check with your broker. You guys got to figure that out on your end, but I'm going to give you an idea of something I've seen. Buyer and seller agree that earnest money will be non-refundable if a buyer initiates to cancel the purchase agreement for any reason. Okay. I've seen it where earnest money becomes non-refundable at signing. Earnest money becomes non-refundable after inspection for any reason or whatever it is, right? But there are ways that you can make that and be creative about that. And again, I'm gonna point out, unless there's any funny business, if there's no funny business and this goes to closing, there's no more money out for that buyer, okay? What do I mean? Oh, hey, Rachel. Well, earnest money is subtracted from the purchase, but you're not paying in addition, right? So earnest money, if you offer 20 grand in earnest money, it's not a purchase price of 600,000 plus 20, it's 600,000 minus 20. So to me, it's very strategic. You're not paying more money. It's just obviously too, though, they have to write that check within 48 hours, right? 48 hours that earnest money is due. So they have to have it in their bank account. Okay. Purchase price. Yes, of course, you got to rate that purchase price. I'm just going to point out here real quick, 20%, 80, whatever that is down. I mean, people ask me all the time when I'm presenting offers, maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's cash, whatever that is. I mean, for me as a listing agent, as long as there's a good lender, as long as this is going to close, a lot of times I don't care what that percentage down is. However, sellers do look at that. They're like, that just feels 20% down versus 10%. That just feels a little bit better. If there was a low appraisal, maybe they'd have money, if they're not offering an appraisal clause. So it can feel better to sellers to have that. So it's just a conversation to have with people, when you're having this coffee, what percentage down? Okay, well, you're 5%. Okay. We might want to consider being stronger in other areas because some sellers will feel like, if you're competing with 20 or 30 or 50% down, they might feel like that's lower. So we might consider being stronger in other areas. Okay. Closing date. Obviously, you're looking on agent remarks. If it's not on agent remarks, you are making sure you know what the ideal closing date is, and you're having this conversation with buyers. Like winning offers are matching the closing date that sellers want all the time. Say, buyer, that will cost you no more money to match their closing date. Okay, maybe they need to rent for a couple days extra or a month extra. Okay, so I guess it could cost them more money, but I'm saying strategically, that is very important. Okay, so line 66, I'm going to point out. I'm getting some people here and there putting, okay, rates are going up, right? So you got to have this conversation with your buyers. I'm having people put in here 4%, 5%. You know what that means? That means if rates go over 4 or 5%, whatever they put in here, that my deal falls apart and the buyers get their earnest money back. So I am looking for, and you got to ask the other agent what they're looking for in that. I'm looking for market rate. I've heard all what everyone has to say about market rate, but that is what I am looking for. I want to know that, with rates go up or whatever happens, that we're still in business, that this isn't falling apart. Okay. Written statement. Line 78. Everyone should read and understand this, okay? Written statement protects the sellers. I'm protecting my sellers. I would like written statement. Most lenders, they have to jump through hoops, check off boxes. You can't get written statement right away. Usually it's, 10 or so days before, or at least a month out, but 10 or so days before closing. Read this and understand this, but the gist of it is once written statement is provided, the earnest money becomes non-refundable to the seller. I'm protecting my seller. Okay. So buyers, it's cost you no money. No extra money as long as there's not any funny business. You know, if you're planning on backing out at the last second or changing jobs or buying a Tahoe the day before closing or anything like that, and it falls apart, then, you know, then there'll be a problem. But other than that, written statement to me is very strategic. I ask for it on all offers, and I would be talking to my clients about what that means. Okay. Don't be a new agent and check the wrong boxes. If you are offering written statement on line 78, you are not checking any boxes on line 7 and on line 75. Line 75 is blank. Line 75 is blank, and then you're offering written statement. I have a lot of people, new agents, who still say forfeited to seller or whatever, then we have to correct it. It's fine if we're correcting it every once in a while because everything else is gold, but I wouldn't make that rookie mistake. Know your purchase agreement. Okay. Seller contributions to closing costs. This is a conversation I would have with them. I'm on a mastermind. We do a lot of business, whatever it is. I have not seen anyone win in the last year asking for closing costs. Do you need them? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what that looks like. They're typically 3%. I don't know the exact number. Your title company will give you that exact number. As a realtor, I just guesstimate for you that they'll be about 3%. Do you have that money? I mean, you got to be strategic. I mean, they got to have that money, right? But we're not seeing a lot of people ask for closing costs, buyers ask for closing costs and have that work. So make sure you're having that conversation. Because if you don't, then all of a sudden what's going to happen is they're going to say, oh my gosh, my next door neighbor, even though the market's crazy, they asked for closing costs and they got them. So you have to say, it's totally up to you. We can do whatever you want. We're not seeing it. Yeah. Every once in a while, does something happen? Sure. Okay. Inspections. What did Alex just say? 55% of winning offers. They had 100 from April 1st to April 15th, over 100 offers accepted and 55% waived inspections. We know that sounds crazy. Here are your options. If they're asking for an inspection, guys, you can hustle and try to do it in 2 days. That means everything has to be negotiated by 11:59 p.m. that day. It's very, very hard. You might be up late at night, but you can get it done. There's things that need to be done. There's so many options on an inspection, guys, and you should understand what they are and talk to your buyers about their options. Some buyers, sure, you could elect to do an inspection, but it's not contingent on it. Okay, so those are the boxes I've checked there. Elects to do an inspection and it's not contingent on the inspection. So they're still having one, they move into the home and here's their laundry list of things that they need to do, okay? Strategic is, and you have to, when you are requesting a showing, you have to, get approval that you can bring your inspector with, but walk and talk inspections. We have inspectors doing these. You pay up front, they go to the inspection with you. It's a walk and talk inspection, right away. And then your buyer can consider waiving their inspection. Careful, guys. There is super important. On the MLS, there is a form. If your buyer decides to waive the inspection, protect yourself and make sure they are filling out that form. It says legally something like, my realtor didn't make me waive the inspection, okay? There are going to be issues, and there are issues right now. And if they're not, like, of people that waived inspections that are saying my basement flooded, but my realtor told me I should waive that inspection to win. Protect yourself. You got to protect yourself. There is a form on the MLS for that. Make sure if you are waiving your inspection that they fill that out, okay? And make sure you're having that conversation with them. Inspections, that costs them no extra money to hustle. That costs no extra money. Well, I mean, it costs money to have an inspector, right? But if you're having an inspection, you're having an inspection. It costs no extra money to have that inspector do a walk and talk inspection and speed that up. Got to speed that up. So, there's also creative wording, guys, on inspections. Let me see some. Again, ask your broker. I'm not telling you exactly what to do, but here are some, wording that I've seen. Inspection is for hazardous / catastrophic, whatever. How do you say that word? You know what I mean, right? Okay. Items only, Buyer agrees to only request negotiation cost or repair of a single item exceeds $2,500. Okay, fine. Inspection is for pass and fail. There's creative things that you guys can do to show good faith that you and your client are not going to be a pain in the ASS for inspection. I think it's important to do, but I'll let you know behind the scenes as a listing agent, I'm going to say, you know what? It shows good faith. I hope that they will adhere to this, but they could still ask for $5,000. You know, they can still, they're in an inspection period, 2 days, 5 days, whatever that inspection period is, someone can cancel for any reason at all and walk away. So it shows good faith, but it's not legally binding really. Okay. So anyways, but I would get creative about that. I would get creative about all the things. Okay. All right. So we talked about inspections, sale of buyer's property. So hopefully you're kindly having a conversation of, it's very, very, very hard, if not near impossible, to win if you are contingent on the sale of a home. And PSO, by the way, if I get you accepted and you're contingent on the sale of the home, they can still bump you. Okay, so make sure you're reading that sale. There's a sale addendum that goes in the purchase agreement that has a blank on there that must be filled in. You have 5 days to bump, 1 day to bump, 30 days to bump. Usually it's 1 day, you know, it depends who you're negotiating with. You have 1 day to bump it. So now all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we won. Carmen, you did it the other day, you won. And it was contingent, you had to hustle and get it done and you kept it together. So sometimes it can work, guys, but you got to make sure that they know that. Not only is it hard to win, I could win for you, but then guess what? They can bump you. They can still market the home. They can accept another offer. And then they're going to call your contingency and say you have 1 day to perform. Again, it matters what that blank is filled out on that for sale addendum. Okay. But let's say it says 1 day, you have 1 day to perform. No contingencies other than financing. That means it has to be all the way through inspection. Very, very difficult to do. Need a purchase agreement all the way through inspection. The only contingency is financing. Very, very hard to do. So now you did all this work and you got bumped. Okay. A lot of people don't understand that. Understand it. Okay. So, this has been an interesting thing, and we've been seeing it more and more with taking possession. We almost always see immediately after closing that the buyer takes possession of the home, but this is where you guys are good and you are asking questions. What's important to your buyer, or what's important to your seller? Oh, they want to live there. They want to rent back. Oh, they want a free rent back. Okay. They want to live there for 60 days. And then you talk to your buyer. Are you willing to give them a free 60-day rent back? Or, okay, what does that look like? You want $2,500. What is that? And there's a form for this, right? So, or does it just say, you know, you get 2 days, you get 2 extra days to move out. So I'm not seeing a ton of this because it's not as important to my buyers. My buyers are out, or my sellers are out. They already have another home, whatever. But this is strategic for people. Okay. And there is rent back language that is important. And there's rent back. There's a whole addendum for rent back. And I've done a training on this. That wording can be important. And if you are doing a rent back and you're on my team, please talk to me about wording. We had one recently, not to get off on a tangent, but recently we closed one, and the buyer, our buyer, paid $900,000 for a home. And then the sellers did a rent back, but at closing, they did not want to give them a key. So they're like, yeah, we're not giving you a key. We live there. Yeah, we know we're renting, but we're not giving you a key. And our sellers are like, our buyers are like, we just paid $900,000 for a home. We know that you're renting it for 2 months, but we would like a key to our property. So we've learned different things, and you don't want to be a pain in the butt with your wording, but there's different wording that now we put in there. Sellers give buyer a key before closing. No problem, right? But, okay. So anyways, we have wording about walkthroughs. We have wording about professionally cleaned, possibly careful. You don't want to be a pain. Okay. Okay. That giving someone, whatever that is, giving somebody what they want, if it's a day or 2 to move out, usually doesn't cost anyone any money. Okay. So that could be strategic if that's important to your seller. That's number 5 of costs your buyer no money to do, but can be strategic. Go ahead and ask questions if you guys have them. I'll go through in a sec. Warranty. Are you guys asking for a warranty? Careful. It's only $500, $600. Maybe it's a little more. Clean, 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 clean. Don't be asking for warranties. If your client wants a warranty, have them buy it. Have them add it on there. Title can add it on there. They can pay for it themselves. My hands are dry. Okay, we're almost wrapped up with this. Oh my God, this has been going on forever. We're almost at the end of this. So at the end, you can write in others. This is where I like appraisal clauses to be. I like them highlighted, bold, all the things, appraisal clauses. Just had somebody on here that said, whatever, 55% of winning offers have appraisal clauses. So what does that say? Now, there's in here under financing, a lot of people put that wording under financing. I'm going to encourage you guys, go ahead and put it there if you want, but that really gets lost on that page. If it was me, that appraisal clause, I would have it here. Some lenders want this off the purchase agreement, so you put it on an addendum. That's fine. No problem. But highlight it, make sure that they know that this is here and whatever that wording is. Okay. Your wording is very strategic on that appraisal clause as well. Okay. And CIC. So if there's a CIC is association. Okay. If you haven't read that addendum, if it's in an association, understand that. Okay. Understand that. Let me get to it. Why should you understand that? A lot of realtors don't get this. Per the state of Minnesota, or wherever you're from, obviously figure it out. In a CIC community, that buyer has 10 days to look at those documents. For any reason at all, they can back out. Even if they're through inspection, So I mean, you guys, you could have somebody waive their inspection or do a one-day inspection and get through inspection, and they could still cancel due to CIC association. So as a buyer's agent, I care, and I put this on my agent remarks of the language that I want. In the state of Minnesota, you cannot waive it. This is important, and I know this is like a lot of information, but this is darn strategic if you are offering in a CIC community, okay? You cannot waive it. You cannot ask for 1 or 2 days. You can only reduce it to 3 days, okay? So the wording I am asking people to put on, and talk to the listing agent, see what they would like. Oh shoot, I don't have it on here. Oh, yes, I do. Buyer agrees to reduce the CIC/association timeframe from 10 days to 3 days. 3 days after receiving all CIC documents, buyer agrees to send an amendment to seller removing this contingency. There are legalities regarding this. It cannot be given up front. You cannot waive it up front. You cannot provide that document legally up front. It has to be 3 days after the documents have been provided. That's why you need a good TC who keeps you legal and who asks for these documents, okay? Okay, so that's my spiel. And shoot, that is my number 6. I said I was going to give you 6 ways to be more attractive on your purchase agreements that cost you no money. That costs you no money. Now, buyer, you have to go look at those documents. You only have 3 days versus 10, but expedite it. Okay. There's a lot in here. I really encourage everyone, print your purchase agreement, read the language, know this, because you can really advocate one way or another on it, right? It's really, 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 really important to know your purchase agreement, okay? Okay, so yes, we have wire fraud, all the things. Okay, this is an addendum. So these guys, instead of the last page line 5 or 458, whatever that was, instead of on there, they put it on an addendum. Okay, so they have appraisal clause. Upon a low appraisal, buyer will pay cash up to purchase price. And then they have buyer and seller agree that the statutory rescission, that's the CIC association documents, they've reduced it from 10 days to 3 days. Okay, so that's on there. Okay, kind of showing you the order again too. That's that CIC addendum. Don't include that if it's not a CIC, not strategic. Some people, it's not a full CIC and it can be really confusing. It's like, is this an association? Is it a CIC? Is it not? You got to ask the listing agent. Okay. Should you include the compensation agreement? No, it's on the MLS. If it says you're getting paid out 2.7% or 5 or whatever it is, that's what you're getting paid out. I would not include it on there. Okay. So I'm going to open it up for Q&A in a sec. I'm going to give some strategic wording to make sure I went through this before I do. We talked about non-refundable earnest money. We talked about inspection wording. We talked about CIC. We talked about association or appraisal clauses. Talked about rent backs. 2 other things I'm going to bring up. Seller bonus. I had this on an offer recently. You can have this conversation with people. I think a lot of people aren't doing this, but it sure stood out to me. The buyer, so this is a seller bonus. This is above and beyond anything that they're paying. It's above and beyond earnest money. And legally, you got to be careful about this stuff. So ask your title company to keep it legal. But this is what they put on there. The buyer will pay directly to the seller a non-refundable $1,000 acceptance bonus within 1 day of final acceptance of this offer. Buyer will also pay a non-refundable $2,500 bonus to seller after the inspection period has ended and both parties are moving forward. Blah, 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 blah. They did some legal. These bonuses are not part of the earnest money, but a bonus to the seller for accepting the offer. The bonus will appear on the settlement statement as a cost paid outside of closing, POC. If this transaction fails to close, but there's some legal stuff in this, guys, right? You gotta be careful because you can't be having money under the table. It's like personal property. You gotta be careful about that. Can't be having money, side deals like that. Don't go to realtor jail, right? You gotta do it legit. But there is a legitimate way to do seller bonuses, and that just stood out to me. Not a lot of people are doing that. And then I'm just going to say the one other thing is dumpster clause. I haven't seen a lot of this, but we are seeing it. So dumpster clause is something where, you know, the seller can leave whatever in their home and the buyer is going to dispose of it. Okay. Dumpster clause. Buyer agrees to assume / remove any remaining possessions in the home. So I don't see it a lot, but let's say someone's like, you know, oh my gosh, it's like they don't want to do it. They don't want the hassle of it. It could be strategic. That's why you got to talk to the listing agent, see if there's anything in additional that could be important to them. Okay. Oh my gosh, that was long. I hope everyone got something out of that. I will be doing more and more training on how to be a kick butt realtor. I will do Q&A in a second here. I'm going to stop this recording. Thanks, everyone.